Hey everybody, what's up? We're here with the Timeless reading. Welcome. The first card that we have is Knight of Cups and Six of Swords and the World. Knight of Cups and Six of Swords feels like moving forward. There could have been something that was being figured out where maybe communication was needed or maybe some type of resolve emotionally. Now it feels like things can move forward. So there could have been a discussion to figure out something about feelings or wanting to understand something or make sense of something. Thoughts can be involved too. Communication can be part of this. But definitely feelings being involved, even if it is just a let's talk about this so we can understand. It's definitely to move forward. And that can mean too that a conversation needed to be had in order for things to move forward. The world shows that this is done now. This has been completed. It can also be like a very earnest discussion too, emotionally. Like seeing the big picture, the bigger picture. Also too, if you needed to say something so things could move forward, can also indicate that as well. Wow, okay. Having Saturn next to the moon, there can be something that you learned that was both practical and also emotional or intuitive. High Priestess feels like this wise part of you that you're connecting into when you're making moves. Especially moves where your emotions impact things, like how you're feeling and then how you respond to how you're feeling, like what you do because of that, what you allow to motivate you, you know, sort of like your intention. And I feel like something's being realized here about moving forward, but there can also be something realized about like honest communication too when it comes to what you're feeling, or even like being aware of what's being communicated, because sometimes I feel like we can look at something and call it honest communication when actually it like drives us backwards a bit, and then other times there can be communication where there needed to be a sense of transparency. You know, anybody can say something's honest and like slap that label on it and then have it not be progressive, but this can be about being aware of like what you're saying, you know, and I feel like, and what you're doing too, and then understanding the deeper meaning behind what you're experiencing. High Priestess and Page of Swords feels like you learning about yourself on an internal level and realizing things. And it can be through your conversations, through the interactions that you're having, through what you're observing. Yeah. This looks like you and somebody that you're connected with, you have a conversation. This Knight of Cups goes in the direction of the Queen of Cups. So something about like how you're feeling, how this other person's feeling. Things moving forward. It looks like there was something that needed to be settled, is what I'm seeing. There was an issue. To have the world above it, to have Saturn above it, Saturn can represent like problems, issues, blockages, stuff that needs to be addressed, and Five of Wands indicates that there was a conflict that did need to be addressed. It feels like communication and transparency emotionally is part of this. I'm also seeing Neptune here, so this can be misinterpreting things, miscommunications, and also saying like you did this for that reason, and that not necessarily being the case. With Neptune and the High Priestess above, like Moon and Neptune can be very, very psychic and intuitive, but can also be misled and misguided sometimes. It really depends on what side of it you're on. So if there was any type of projecting, that definitely could have happened. It can be like there being a problem when there actually isn't one, because you think someone's doing something for a reason that's like not actually their intention, or that's not really what they're doing. But also too, what can come to light is thinking somebody didn't mean something and then they did mean something, and then having an argument because of that. You know, it can be a little bit baffling to have Saturn and Neptune and the moon here. It's like emotions are mixed up with things that are playing out physically, and then what we're sort of inferring by things and what we're feeling, and am I really picking up on that, or am I just projecting onto this person, and vice versa. You know, you can get blamed for things that you didn't do, or not blamed for something that you did do. And it can also be about needing to be honest about where you are with things, because with the moon and Neptune, if you are really in a pure space where there is that self-knowing, you're not going to, for the most part, like unknowingly be projecting onto another person. However, but Saturn can also be an issue there, you know, like there can be problems there. Like usually maybe you don't have a problem seeing through something, and then this time you did because Saturn is there. Having these energies here, it can indicate that there could have been confusion, there could have been misinterpretations. Neptune can also indicate there being some deception involved. Really, it just depends, you know, because it can be self-deception, or is it you or is it me here? You know, all of those things. And there could have been something where, like, there was a conflict that was happening, and there could have been a misunderstanding, definitely. Pluto is gonna come through and rectify everything. I feel like Pluto is a great energy when you have Neptune standing here, because Neptune can be very elusive, like what's actually going on here. And Pluto coming through with Judgment, this is about learning how to cut through to the middle. And so it's like the fog being cut through and split so you can see what's happening. So that the Judgment card is a really good tool. Having Knight of Cups, this is about what you're saying, what you're communicating, what you're doing, what your intention is based off of what you're feeling, the moves that you're making. And Judgment is about you taking time to really reflect on that. Why did I do that? Why did I react in that way? Why did I respond in that way? Why did I initiate in that way? Like, what was I trying to do there? What was I hoping to accomplish? And Queen of Cups has to do with your whole emotional world. Page of Swords feels like the part of you that's clocking things, you know, the part of you that's aware, the part of you that's learning things, and you're understanding things, and you're making connections. I'm feeling this, and then I'm understanding what those things mean. So this is all a bunch of interplay that's happening. What this can also mean is that Queen of Cups can be somebody that you're interacting with, that you're seeing, having some type of experience here emotionally, and you being Page of Swords, you can be watching them and learning things and understanding, you know? So it doesn't feel like I'm only feeling my way through and I don't consciously know what's going on. I'm also, from a mental trajectory standpoint, looking at things and trying to have a conscious understanding of what's unfolding. I'm trying to read the room here. Having Six of Swords, like, we want to move on, but then having Hanged Man can be delays moving on. Things that stop us from being able to move forward. Because it feels like there's a conflict here that has materialized and it needs to be addressed. It must be addressed. Otherwise, things are not going to sit well with us. And so what's really going on here, it has to be discovered. And this can be a process that is arduous, is the feeling. You know, something that can feel like a bit of a struggle. It can feel like a lot to have to sift through. Wanting to make moves that you feel happy about. Having the world here feels like there is even something being understood about this. It can even be a chapter that you're taking on right now where you're like, I want to do what makes me happy and I want to like speak my truth and be honest within that. Having Hanged Man in the Page of Swords is about trying to figure out what you weren't seeing before. What was I not seeing? What was stopping me from elevating? Because with Knight of Cups and Ten of Cups, I want to make moves. My intention is to make moves that ultimately, when I do those things, it will lead me to where I want to go. It will lead me to my Ten of Cups. It will lead me to the bliss that I'm looking to experience. But then having Saturn and Neptune there, you can be seeing what's actually blocking you from doing exactly that. What actually weren't you seeing that you needed to see? And so having Saturn and Neptune here, they're working something out. I'm seeing the moon be involved. I'm seeing Pluto be involved. So this means that there's a dissection of your internal world, especially seeing things that you weren't seeing before. Something has presently materialized, like, hey, I'm a conflict in your face, work me out and you'll figure this out. And as much as it can be annoying when the Five of Wands occurs, because who likes to have a problem? This problem is actually meant to help you resolve something that's bigger than just that immediate thing that you're facing. And it's going to be something that you'll be happy that you resolved because it's an issue. And this makes it very apparent that there's an issue there, that there's something that needs to be worked out. And it's ultimately what's blocking you from where you want to be. Or what's stopping you from feeling how you want to feel, you know? Or connecting with your life in the way that you want to connect with your life. Or connecting with a relationship, or connecting with yourself, or connecting with the universe. So there's a lot of stuff that's being unpacked here to be understood. Emotionally, moving forward. You could have felt too like, I think I'm moving forward now, and then it's like this conflict appears, but that's not a sign of regression. It's actually a sign of progress because it feels like you're ready to confront something now. And having Moon and having Pluto there, these energies I think are a little bit easier to work with, even though it can be difficult, but if you're ready for it, you can see what's really been going on that you weren't aware of before with Moon and Pluto. There can be stuff about your psychology that you're realizing. There can be, stuff about your defenses that you're realizing, stuff that you've been doing to like protect yourself from things that you're realizing, but things that sort of hide away from the truth. And this can be a time where you feel like you're really growing. This is the type of stuff that really does put you connected with your psychic powers, Moon and Pluto, your ability to really understand things, what's going on. And it's going to start with you first. When you can really understand like your motives and be honest about those things, and who has the upper hand, who doesn't have the upper hand, am I playing that game, things like that when Pluto is involved. And then having Moon, Moon can sometimes be an indirect way of dealing with things because of wanting to be more gentle, but Pluto is like, we don't need to be gentle. We need to really cut to the center of this. And so you can be handling yourself in a way where you're like, no, I really want to see what's going on and how I've been thinking about things and how I've been like setting myself up to work from. It feels especially like in analyzing and getting to the center of your motives and your reactions and what's going on. Like, why did I feel that way when that happened? Like, what's going on? Deeper, 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 deeper. It's going to help clarify the moves that you make, and it's going to help make sure that the moves that you make are actually getting you where you want to go. Because before you could have been making moves thinking you were going to a certain place, and it's like, funnily enough, you keep not getting where you're trying to go, and it's because this needed to be broken down and looked at. And so that's what you're in the process of doing. There's like an emotional evolving that's happening. There's an unfolding. It's like taking a class on yourself and basically the stuff that you're learning in class are the things that are going on in your emotional world and what you're learning from that. You know, this happens, and then in response, this is what's going on with me, and then you taking notes about that. You know, you're like studying yourself here. And there can also be stuff that you're reviewing, like moves that you made, things that you've said, you know, stuff that you've done that you're taking a deeper look at instead of just like, I'm just reacting to what's going on, you know? There can be more of a like, why did I do that? Why do I want to do that? That's happening here. Saturn could have been like a barrier to you seeing this, but having Neptune here, I feel like it indicates beyond a barrier. Neptune can be places where we're not totally, fully, completely honest with ourselves because of not wanting to look at things sometimes, you know? But not realizing. Sometimes we don't realize. But it can also speak about like you not being ready for something too. Like if you're not ready to go there with yourself is what I'm meaning. You know, if you're not ready to see certain things or own up to certain things, it can be times when you don't see that. But now with Saturn and Neptune, these things are being confronted like, hey, ownership is needed here. And if you have a hope of connecting with your Ten of Cups, this is what's necessary, and so it will be worth it to you to do, even though it can be hard to look at sometimes. Because you know, we can see things within ourselves that are deep and dark with Pluto here. Stuff that can be hard to admit to, stuff that can be hard to come face to face with. Because Pluto is a very powerful energy, and it can be about dominance, and it can be about manipulation and control. And when you have that be connecting with the moon, which is very sensitive and very vulnerable, those can be almost like pole energies that you're working with, because both of them are very intuitive and both of them are like psychically inclined, but one of them has like more of a hard exterior. It can of like, I'm gonna get the upper hand rather than something else. And then with the moon, this is something that feels like it doesn't even have a skin barrier to it, and so it's like a peeled grape is like what I get with the moon. So having something, you know, Pluto can really squish something and lay it down flat, but can be very, very abrasive and can feel very psychologically harmful if you're not ready for that. But it's really just like this thing that you're doing with you and yourself. So that's why like Neptune can actually protect you, because it's that part of you that's like, if you're not ready for something, if you're not ready to come to terms with something or really see something for what it is because it's just too much for you, Neptune can be there to soften the blow, but it keeps us a little bit delusional, you know? Like, lightly. I mean, it can be more severe, but more so in this case, it feels like that is the coping strategy, because Neptune will be like, let's get you out of here, let's help you escape so you don't really have to see what's going on. And Pluto is like, no, you really gotta look at this. But sometimes with the moon, because that's a very sensitive spot, we can feel like, I don't know if I'm ready for that, because that's a part of me that doesn't have the defenses, it doesn't have the armor there. And so it can feel very raw, that can feel very uncomfortable. So that's what I'm seeing is going on here. That is the process here. All right, my friends, we are going to leave the reading here. I would like to thank everyone for connecting. Thank you for tuning in. I am sending everybody love, and I hope to catch you guys next time.